Lethal Company is known for having a diverse selection of monsters that try to get in your way of collecting scrap for Space Bezos. In this video, I plan to rank each and every monster on how scary I think they are on a tier list. Now you're probably wondering, how am I qualified to talk about how scary each and every monster is? Well, I have dealt with every single Lethal Company monster many times, so I know I am qualified enough to talk about how scary I think each and every monster is. I am very aware of how each monster works in terms of their mechanics, so I am very well aware of how scary each monster is. And let me tell you, every monster on the list has scared me more than once, aside from a few monsters which you will see later in the video. Before we start the list, I want to talk about the two factors I will be including when ranking each and every monster on this list. The first factor is the design of the enemy, and design goes a long way whenever you're trying to be scary with your video game monsters. The second is the actual mechanics of each creature. How each creature works also plays a huge role in how scary I think each and every monster is. With that out of the way, let's get on to the list. Before we get to the list, let's go over the tiers. The first tier is not scary, which I think is pretty obvious what I mean by that. And then we have a little scary, which means monsters that are a little spooky, and whenever you see them, you're like, "Shiver me timbers!" The next is scary, and these are the monsters you're always spooked to see, but not too much so. The next tier is very scary, which are monsters that you would really want to stay away from and always get spooked whenever you see them. Pissed My Pants is even more so of that. You get really spooked whenever you see one of these monsters. And then there's Sweet Baby Jesus, which basically means these monsters are so incredibly scary that you do not want to be near them at all. Alright, let's get to the list. We'll be going alphabetically down the list, which means that we start with the Baboon Hawk. And now, the Baboon Hawk likes to bounce around, squawk, and charge at you with its keratin horns. To be honest, whenever you see one of these, you're not really that terrified, so I'm putting it in little C. However, Sigurd says they're a danger level of 75%, which I don't agree on at all. Since we're going alphabetically, the next creature on the list is the Bracken, and I think everyone and their mother and their grandmother have encountered a Bracken and be absolutely terrified.
Oh! Oh! Give him back! Give him back! Give him back! Give him back! He's mine!
These things sneak up on you, snap your neck, and take you to their sex dungeon. Yeah, easy, Sweet Baby Jesus. I don't really think I need to elaborate much on that. Next in line is the Bunker Spider. Now the Bunker Spider, if you're an arachnophobe, you're putting it all a tier above Sweet Baby Jesus. But even though I am scared of spiders myself, the Bunker Spider I think goes and pisses me. It has giant cobwebs, and whenever it kills you, it wraps your body in a cocoon and hangs you from the ceiling. And not only that, every time you hear the pitter-patter of these fucks, you are always terrified out of your mind. And not only that, these things kill you in 2 shots. And they are just giant spiders. Of course they're terrifying. Next in line is the Circuit Bees. Now the Circuit Bees, I think personally, are not that scary. They're bees, they have a hive, and whenever you try to tame their hive, they get agitated and chase you and shock you to death. I guess you can say they're pretty shocking to see. Bad puns aside, I think Circuit Bees are a little scary. When they chase you, it is a pretty terrifying sight to see. After that, we have Coil Heads. They're this game's version of the Weeping Angel. You look at them, and then they stop moving. However, when you look away, they move extremely fast. I think Coil Heads go and piss my pants. Top of Piss My Pants, even. I think Coil Heads are incredibly terrifying. When you see one moving and then it stops, but you know they move. That's what's different about Coil Heads versus other Weeping Angel things, like SCP-173. Also, when they kill you, They replace your head with a spring and cut off your wrists, which is a horror story within itself. Next, we have the Earth Leviathan. It's a giant worm that rumbles the ground and then shoots out and eats you alive. And to be honest, in comparison to the other creatures on the list, I think Earth Leviathans go in the scary tier. I mean, yeah, when you hear the rumbling, you're immediately like, holy shit, I need to get the hell out of here. Next up are the eyeless dogs. Now, the eyeless dogs, I think, are extremely terrifying. They're blind and they can hear extremely well, and I think that is personally terrifying. The fact that it severs the one thing that keeps your team safe, which is communication. And every time there's an eclipse, everyone is always worried about the mouth dog. People are always terrified of this thing, and to be honest, it's for good reason. These things look like nightmare fuel, and their mechanic is absolutely nuts as well. Not only that, eyeless dogs can also enter the ship and ravage your entire team, which is the fact that they can enter your ship where you think it's safe, but it's not because they decide to enter the ship and ravage your entire team. That's honestly really terrifying. I'm putting eyeless dogs in piss in my pants, bro. They're terrifying. Next up are forest giants. Now, forest giants are basically giant creatures that roam in the outside world. They speed walk towards you, grab you, and eat you whole. Now, yes, that is indeed extremely scary, so I'm putting in the very scary tier. But to be honest, over time, I just find them less and less scary. And yes, it is terrifying to see one lurking in the darkness, but to be honest, over time, it just doesn't become as scary as it once was. Next on our list is the Ghost Girl. Now, Ghost Girls are unbelievably terrifying. They haunt one person and then stalk them, chase them, and decapitate them, which is a horror story within itself, much like the rest of the creatures on this list. Ghost Girls are going in the pissed my pants category, because over time their gimmick gets old, similar to the forest giants, and every time you see one you're always like, oh shit, I'm gonna die. But the scariest part of the Ghost Girl is their massive forehead, which they use to make your head explode. Next up are the hoarding bugs. Hoarding bugs are personally my favorite creature. They are so adorable. They just like to steal your loot, and when you try to steal it back, they start attacking you. Personally, they're a little scary, but that's when they're chasing you. But to be honest, you're more likely to want to pet these things and keep one as a pet of your own rather than try and kill these things. Although they do like to steal your dead body and then start having sex with it with their other friends, which is honestly pretty scary. Next are Hygrideers, which is just slow-moving slime. It's not scary at all. I don't know why people would get scared of something like that. Next, we have the Jester.
It's coming!
And I think Jesters are unbelievably terrifying. I'm putting them in Sweet Baby Leaves. They're passive in their first phase. They just chase people around. They look cute at first, you know, 2 legs and 1 singular arm attached to a music box. But as it cranks and the music gets louder and faster, and then a giant skull pops out and devours your entire team unless you evacuate, I feel that is unbelievably terrifying. Now, the next thing on the list is not really a creature, but I still think it should be on the list. They're landmines. Landmines to me are scary, but they're more comedic, if anything. You're more likely to laugh whenever one of your teammates just step on a landmine and get blown off onto the other side of the hallway. And the only reason I put them in scary is because if you walk around the corner and then step on a landmine, it's a pretty significant jump scare. But other than that, landmines are definitely more comedic. Next up are manticoils. I'm putting them in not scary because they're literally just there for aesthetic. Next are the masked.
Oh, you're alive!
The masks are going in Sweet Baby Jesus. They're either an item or they're already a person who has a mask on that just spawns in the facility randomly. They not only vomit blood onto you in order to turn you into another masked, they're also one of the few enemies that can go inside and outside of the facility and enter your ship. I think that is absolutely terrifying. And also, when they're bored and don't know what to do with themselves, they decide to wait at your ship and ambush you when you come back. Yeah, absolute nightmare fuel. Next up are nutcrackers. They walk around the house with loud stomping sounds, and they carry a shotgun, which will blast you to the other side of the hallway, like landmines and turrets. I'm putting nutcrackers in very scary tier. The next on the list is roaming locusts, which are literally not scary at all. They're just aesthetic. I don't know why they're on the list, but you know, whatever. The next creature on the list is the snare flea. And snare fleas are unbelievably terrifying. They hang on the ceiling, drop down onto your face, and suffocate you to death. That's a horror story within itself. They're going in this category. Next on the list is the spore lizard. And they don't really do anything. They just try to look intimidating, but they really aren't, unless it's your first playthrough. I'm putting them in a little scary because you might get jump scared. They really don't do much other than gas you like it's 1944 in Poland. Next on our list are the Thumpers. Thumpers basically just charge at you with brute force and try to kill you. I mean, every horror game needs an enemy like that. But to be honest, after seeing many clips of Lethal Company Thumpers, these things are just scary. They don't really scare me that much anymore. They charge at you, but it's more of just an incentive to get out of the facility or try to whack it with a shovel. I understand if other people are scared of them though. And lastly, because we put landmines on here, we gotta put turrets on the list. And I think turrets are very scary. You turn a corner, you immediately hear the turret sound, and you immediately scream and run back. And then if you don't... So that's my Lethal Company monster scariness tier list. I could come up with a better name, but I can't be bothered. Yeah, that's my list. So yeah. I know this isn't an official enemy, but I want to rank the fake fire exits. And to be honest, I think fake fire exits go in the piss my pants tier. Not only is their sound gut-wrenchingly terrifying, but they look like a giant mouth vagina with teeth. Really sharp teeth. And they devour you whole. Yeah, I think that's scary enough. Like and subscribe right now or a bracken will snap your neck and take you to its sex dungeon.